6 p.m. on November 15th, 2022, and I hereby call this regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council to order. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads. Let us pray for the residents of Diamond Head, elected officials, appointed members, and members that are dedicated to working to secure a solvent future for Diamond Head. Please pray for our country. Please pray for our veterans. Lord, thank you for the veterans who have served in war and who have kept the peace on our domestic soils. Lord, thank you for the sacrifice of the veterans and their families. Lord, thank you for their example of bravery and courage. Lord, thank you for the ones who have given their lives to protect our freedom. For this and all unspoken prayers, we ask for your blessing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
City Clerk?
Mayor Del Rio.
Here.
Councilmember Finley.
Here.
Councilmember Lisi.
Here.
Councilmember Cumberland.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Moore.
Here.
I would like to move to adjust the agenda to move off the consent agenda. Items 6, 9, and 13. Could I get a second to move as amended?
Can we add 11 to that as well?
And 13.
Or what, I can make a separate motion if you'd like.
And 11.
And 11 and 13.
All right, could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Finley. All in favor? Aye.
Just to clarify, it was 6, 9, 11, 13?
Yes.
6, 9, 11, and 13.
Thank you.
Okay, does anybody want to address the council? Did you sign up if you want to address the council on a topic? Okay. Anybody else? This is the last opportunity. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the City Council will be held December 6th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in Council Chambers located at City Hall. Next, we have Zach Smith with Habitat for Humanity.
Hi. Hi, Zach.
Hello.
Not used to speaking in public, so bear with me. I work for Habitat for Humanity Bay Waveland, servicing Hancock and Pearl River County, and I'm here to, I guess, ask for your assistance in finding volunteers for starting a new build. And
Is your mic on?
is the mic? I got to put it on.
Is it green?
It's not.
If you could just write, is it green? Yeah,
Hello.
there you go. You just got to get
Okay.
closer to it.
Like I said, not used to public speaking, so bear with me. I work for Habitat for Humanity, Bay St. Louis, servicing Hancock County and Pearl River County. We're starting a new build in Bay St. Louis this Saturday, actually, on the 19th. And I'm here to ask for you all's assistance in locating volunteers for our ongoing building program, as well as critical home repair, and that's it.
Excellent. Can you send the city manager more information in an email, and we'll be happy to share it with the residents. That's something
Definitely.
that we're very eager to assist with. And thank you for your hard work and dedication.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you. Next, we have Hub International Employee Benefits.
Good evening.
I don't often often need a microphone, but we'll assist. I'm Diane Moore. I'm with Hub International. We were previously Fox Everett before we were acquired in 2014. And I'm here to discuss the employee benefits renewal and the coverages that we provide for you through Hub International. You've been furnished with a summary that you have in front of you. We'd like to talk first about the Blue Cross Blue Shield renewal. The renewal that will be effective January 1st has a negative 0.844% decrease on the medical rates. So we were pleased to get that reduction because I know last year we had an increase. One of the things that we did experience with most of the renewal, all of the renewals on the coast, is they actually applied a 9.8% increase on the overall cost of medical care to the coastal area. And so fortunately, your group of employees and the people on the plans, we had a very good year this year. And so we were able to have a profitable enough year with Blue Cross to be able to offset that 9.8% increase. So we saw a lot of people that did not have a decrease this year. With that, we break it down to you because you have a dual plan with a $1,000 deductible option. With a GAP plan, that plan, it netted a 3.69 to decrease, and the deductible plan for the $3,500 has a slight increase, so it showed an 8.44. Excuse me, the $1,000 plan had a small increase with the GAP, so it had less of an increase, but that just breaks it down for you. The current loss ratio, and we have an exhibit on another page, but the loss ratio as of September this year is a 67%, which equates to obviously the reduction that we'll be able to enjoy this year, should you decide. Morgan White, that just also is the GAP plan that brings the plan with Blue Cross down to the lower deductible. That illustrates the 30% increase. That's on a smaller number, and that's why we illustrated the reduction above that, and a $3,500 deductible had no change in premium for the GAP plan. The Guardian, which the basic life had a 20.5% increase for the employer-paid life insurance, and to give you a number, that totals $37.44 per month for the entire group. I know that sounds like a large increase. Most of us have an aging workforce, and that's where the life insurance increase is derived from. The dental has a 12% increase. That is employee paid benefit, and that equates to $4.42 per month for any employee that has voluntary dental insurance, and that is pre-taxed, so that's also an opportunity that lessens the cost for the employees as well. And the vision is also employee paid, and there was no change for the premium with those products. All three of those products are offered through the Guardian Life Insurance Company. We wanted to give you some information on marketing, although we did get a decrease with the Blue Cross, and it is our recommendation. We do want you to know a little bit about what's happening in the marketplace for other employers. Humana, they do not quote under 100 lives in Mississippi. Aetna, Cigna, and United Healthcare are not competitive with the Blue Cross Blue Shield rates. And there was a new program that's just entered into the market in the last 2 years with an Allstate program, and it's called a level funded, and I won't get into the details of that, but it would require all full-time employees to answer detailed medical questions, and then it would be underwritten, and then the rates would be provided after that. And after meeting with your HR, your team and city manager, it was decided that the Blue Cross is what the recommendation that they would like to offer to the city council. We also do want to point out a note at the bottom there is that Blue Cross, your group has been with Blue Cross a very long time. They're considered what they call a grandfather plan, which means that they enter into and are grandfathered into what they call composite rates for groups under 50. Over the last couple of years, Blue Cross for groups that are under 50 individually rate every person on the bill as to their age and dependence. Right now, you have everybody at the same employee rate, same for the dependents in the family. If we ever leave Blue Cross, and this is just a point of information, then we would lose that grandfather protection, and then we would, if we came back to them or some of the other carriers, do the same type of formatting, and that's just an educational piece for you. On the following pages, we gave you an illustration from October of 21 to September of 76 of the loss ratios. And as you can see, we had a pretty rough patch through May, and then it started to decrease, and now to get us to the 67% loss ratio in September of this year. The next page is a medical rate history. This just gives you a history back to 2018 of the plan changes and the rate structure and the increases and decreases that you've seen with the rates for the medical rate history. And then on the last page is our recommendations. Our recommendations are to renew the Blue Cross Blue Shield, including the Morgan White Gap Plan, with no change in premium rate for the employees, except the Blue Cross Blue, except both of those renewals as offered. The Guardian employer paid life, employee paid dental and vision, except the Guardian renewal as offered, which has been competitive. We do have two products that listed next, the Teladoc, which is telemedicine, which we've done a lot of information and communication with your employees to try to encourage them to use that product. I'm a big fan of it myself, but we have not gotten the utilization, and it is costing the city money, and we've had a total lack of participation. I think we had one call throughout the entire year. So it is our recommendation for you to consider to discontinue the Teladoc, and then LifeLock's been the same situation with the LifeLock product. But of course, that's for your information. And we currently have approved or been asked to do the open enrollment scheduled for November 28th and 29th. So we'll be able to have all of the enrollment completed for the December payroll, for the effective date being in January 1st. With that consideration, when we met, we were talking they wanted to explore long-term disability as a possible offering from the city of Diamond Head to their employees, and they asked me to research that. So right below that is a consideration of an employer paid, which means the city of Diamond Head would have the opportunity to offer long-term disability, and we showed two options with a waiting period of 180 days or 6 months, which means they would be they would be disabled for 6 months before it would trigger the benefit, or 90 days. The monthly premium for 180 days is $322.65 a month, equaling an annual premium of $3,871.80, and the option 2 with the 90 days, so it would trigger after 90 days of the disability, would be $395.58 or $4,746.96 for the 90 days. It goes down there to talk about duration of benefits. What that means is for 2 years you get reimbursed for your own occupation. So if you had an occupation that required much more difficult actions on your part, you're going to be paid for whatever that occupation is. After 2 years, then they go to a definition of disability depending on the disability itself, not considering the position that you held with the city at that time. It does have a monthly benefit of 60% up to $6,000 maximum benefit. So that was a consideration that was asked to be offered to the city council to consider if you would like to add that would be as an employer paid benefit. Any questions? Okay.
I have a question. So the Teladoc, I'm just shocked that employees weren't using that, because that's the best thing that's ever been created. I
Right.
think it's phenomenal,
Right. And
personally.
it is a very inexpensive. I mean, I think we're at I think it was going to $3.65 to $3.95, somewhere in that neighborhood per employee per month. And it does include all of your tax dependents, even if they're not on the medical plan, and all full-time employees can access it. We did a lot of communication pieces and tried to encourage people to use it, but we just haven't gotten the feedback. We'd be happy to continue to send out flyers. We have, anything that we can do to encourage it, if you don't want to discontinue it, and see if we could enhance employees to use it.
We're probably going on the third year of trying to get employees to start using it. It just, for whatever reason, just did not take off here for us.
Mm-hmm.
One or two that did, we're not happy with it.
Yeah, that's true,
Right.
unfortunately.
Took weeks, yeah.
Yeah, they did have a period of time, and sadly, it was during the COVID epidemic where there was just a very, very large influx of calls that we have gotten reports back that has subsided. People would have to wait or not get return call. Typically, right now, you're getting calls within an hour of the time that you either called if you don't
Right.
get through immediately. But there was that difficult time where we had some people that hit in that area, and of course, whenever you have a negative experience, you tend to share it more sometimes than when you have a positive experience. So, but it's absolutely up to you which way you would like to do. We'd be more than happy to continue it if that's the case.
So in our budget, we budgeted an increase of 10,
For health insurance, yes,
and so we actually have a decrease of 8.
that is correct.
So we're fine with that.
Right.
How did it come when you added the long-term disability into?
Unfortunately, that was what we're hoping is the difference would be there, but it's about $1,200, $1,300 more in
Okay.
cost. That just was a little too much for us at this time.
And that's maybe something we can
Yeah.
consider in the future.
Exactly.
Okay, that
And
was
that's
my
why we
question.
wanted to put the numbers to it, so that you
Okay.
could do exactly that.
Let me ask you something about the long-term disability. After the 2 years or during that, would they be in a state of eligibility for the SSI disability? Or is this for things that wouldn't reach that level, or?
The actual disability goes until retirement age or until the qualifications of Social Security. If it's, depending on the disability, sometime it will go to the Social Security age. It does go to age 65 or the
Yeah, no,
Social Security
I
age.
meant like
Correct.
before the age where
Right,
it's
before that,
disability.
depending on if you can file for the disability and get approved, then that would replace this benefit.
Gotcha.
Correct. Right, any other questions?
Great job on the
Thank you. Thank you very
deduct.
much.
That doesn't happen often. And I was expecting 15 up, so I'm like, this is tremendous.
Well, I
Thank
like to
you.
take all the credit, but.
Go ahead,
It
take
looks
it.
like-
We're excited. Just
Thank
take
you
the
very
credit.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, moving on to the agenda, public comments on agenda items.
Oh.
We did skip the city manager's report, so let's go on to that, and then we'll move on to the public comments.
That's okay. I appreciate it. Yes.
Sorry, John.
That's all right. I don't have much to say, so we're good as far as skipping either way. Just want to give you updates on Makiki Drive. The drain boxes did arrive. Weather yesterday has slowed them back down, but they are trying to get the sewer bypass put in and then hopefully finish the job up. The agenda has a change order on it for an additional 60 days for this project. The current ending date was yesterday, I think, or last week, November the 10th. So this new ending date, if we add the 60 days, will be January 9th, 2023, which hopefully will not be the case as far as what they need, but we'll give it to them. The Twin Lakes Park and Dog Park, the engineering firm is completing the plans. They're very close, is what he's told me in the latest email, and they hope to have advertising or permission to advertise to you guys at the next agenda. Phase 4 paving, they started on October 10th with a 90-day calendar to do the work. They've actually finished all paving except for the Bayou Drive area. kind of up at the very top of Bayou Drive, and they're waiting on Diamond Head Water and Sewer to finish the water line replacement that they're doing there, and then they'll come in and do that last bit of paving. But they've finished everything else or done every other road that is supposed to be, so they've more or less demobilized for right now, and will remobilize once that area is finished up there. Christmas on the Green, the event will be held December the 1st from 5:30 to 8, with Santa arriving at 6 o'clock outside City Hall here. And last bit of great news for us all, Elliott Homes and D.R. Horton, the city and the home builders have reached an agreement on elevations and facade variations, and permits have started to be looked at and hopefully issued here. I think one has already been issued for Elliott Homes. So they have both finally realized what we're looking for here in Diamond Head, and have come through with a lot of good variations to their homes. So we'll start seeing that those projects coming out of the ground.
Okay, any questions for the city manager to my left?
Yeah, I have a question. You kind of triggered it on me when you said that they're waiting for the paving for water and sewer. Are we working with water and sewer for the places around the city where they're saying like that there's erosion in the ditches that are making their thing
Sure.
much harder? So can you just elaborate on that?
Well, yes, I did meet with the general manager a few weeks ago regarding that. We had a long discussion, and then I actually met with two of the water board commissioners and the general manager again, and had a nice long talk about that. Waiting on some information from them, but we are looking at those issues and trying to make the determination of what's the highest need, and move forward on trying to figure out how to repair those. Of course, the biggest issue is going to be cost and where the money comes from to get those fixed.
Does it seem like there's an abundance of places, or is it like something that would be manageable in the next 2 years' budget, or are we looking at a 5-year plan? Or-
Probably more of a 5-year plan.
It's way over 2 years of budget.
Yeah, it's
Way over.
and a lot of it's wetlands issues and permitting, so it's going to just take some time as well to get all that work done.
I got a few. I probably should have emailed you this and give you a heads up on it. Do we have any update on the motel?
The gentleman is doing some minor repairs right now. Ron actually was over there late last week and took a walk through to make sure he wasn't doing any sort of general repairs that would require inspection. We're still waiting on him to pull a construction permit to actually start doing his work. But right now he's mostly, I would say, cleaning, pulling out carpets, pulling out all the junk and everything out of the rooms. I did have a meeting with him and SMPDD to discuss two different options to help him to pay for his sprinkler system, and waiting on to hear back from him as to whether he is going to take up either one of those options.
What about the yellow house by the water tower?
I did call the owner there, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and ask if he would clean it up as well as finish the project. And he's gave me several reasons of what's going on, but he did move I don't know if you noticed the portalette that was in the front, and I don't know if he moved it off the property altogether. I didn't go around to the back of the property to see, but at least he moved it out of the front, so it's not right there for everybody to see as they're driving around that circle. So I was pleased that he did that much for me to start with.
Okay, and two more. The Helaway drainage. We had talked about it last meeting. Can you give an update where we're at on that? I know we got several people in here off from there now. So
That's all right.
brought that up.
I've been working with Ben, the engineer on that project, to determine what could be done, and I've asked him to do some more evaluation and studying of the drainage around the new home that's there and Mr. Jacobs' home that's next to it, which is the older home on the property or on that street. And gave him several ideas of what to look at, and he's going to meet me one day this week or possibly first of next week. Come back out, go on site. The two of us will walk around together and see what other determination factors we can do to make a determination. The issue that the residents and whatever brought up were simply that this house and this house culverts are collapsed and need to be replaced. Well, unfortunately, if all it is replace the culvert with the same size culvert, that's something the city can't do. That's the residents, the homeowners' responsibility. Now, that may be something we have to put on that homeowner and make them do later, but, as of right now, we're trying to see if there's other things that we can, other issues around there that we can resolve without having to make that happen, and if that's not completely collapsed as far as that goes.
See,
Uh,
I had
Go
that
ahead.
on my list as well, because
Yeah.
we were supposed to get an update on the plans
Right.
on where we could look. So we were looking upstream to see, there was a lot of work and activity upstream.
He gave me 3 different options, and I mean, it's options and not necessarily any specifics at this time.
When is the council gonna be presented the options so that we know?
Well, I'm meeting with him, like I said, either tomorrow or one day this week. I'm not sure exactly. He wasn't sure exactly when he could meet, and we'll work on that and get something back to all of you on December 1st.
I was out there at 9 o'clock last night, and
Right.
while the ring we had, everything, didn't look like there was any issues from what I saw.
Right.
I mean,
And-
everything looked great last night.
And I sent
9
that,
o'clock, yeah.
I sent that to the engineer and let him know that, first thing this morning, and he seemed like immediately called me, and we had that discussion, so.
But the last
he's
time it
aware.
rained during the day, I was out there and it was sheeting over the road again. It was going right in and going around her house, which wasn't even 3 weeks ago. I got a text from a resident in the middle of the day.
So, and that's what I said, I want him to focus on that house and see if there's an issue that can be resolved there, instead of trying to do all this other. Because the 3 options, of course, he had was do what the plans were, what was engineered, and what, the council has already approved, or look at from her house further down and only deal with those houses. And then the third was to look at those 2 homes upstream and have them replace those culverts. The problem with that was you were only gonna, of course, he said, if you're gonna only replace those 2, you're gonna have to put in the same size culvert that's already there. Because if not, all that's gonna happen is the next guy down is gonna have a problem because you've got too much water coming in. So that's where, unfortunately, the city does not have that ability to replace a culvert with the same size.
Okay, my last question would be about, anything more on the FEMA buyouts of the houses, like over on Comey and stuff like that?
Nothing at this time. We have resubmitted those under smaller applications and put that back to FEMA, and so we're just waiting. I guess we're lucky we just haven't had a disaster to generate any more hazard mitigation funds at this time.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
That's it.
And I had several residents contact me about that, and you shared the Rostan cell number so that they could reach out because they had questions about that. Any questions to my right?
I have just a couple. I know last week we talked, or maybe 2 meetings ago, we talked about loose dogs, and I'm still getting phone calls often. Could the city send out an e-blast just to remind people maybe of our dog ordinance and leash laws and, the penalties for, just educationally so that everyone knows we are trying to crack down on that? Is that okay?
I can do that.
Okay, thank you. And then, thank y'all for sending out the e-blast about the toy drive for the Hancock Resource Center. And I just wanted to remind anybody who wants to donate toys that they can do that at City Hall or at any Hancock County Library branch between now and December 1st. And they're asking for people to especially consider teenagers, because they're often kind of overlooked when people buy toys for these drives. But anything's welcome, and participation is great. So thank you.
Any other comments to the right? I have a few. So the Hilo Street drainage, I was hoping we would have some definite answers today, and we don't have any. So maybe the next meeting, because we've
Yes.
got a lot of residents, when it rains, that are calling me, that are eager to know what we're going to do and moving forward.
Right.
Because they've got a lot of concerns
Well,
about the
I
plans.
mean, the project was engineered by our engineer
Mhm.
and presented to us, and that was, if that's what you guys want to do, we can just go ahead and start that project now. It's already been awarded, engineered, bid out, everything. But if that's not, it just seems like that's not what anybody wanted after the fact.
No, that's not what anybody wants. So that's what we need to work on, what we can do with the least amount of impact to the bid to get it moving forward. The other thing was a revised cross-section for the new roadway. We talked about it at the last council meeting. Has anybody worked on that?
I did. was
the
was saying something to me.
revised street cross-section. You know, we had looked at East Aloha and realized we need to revise the typical street cross-section before we move forward with the new design on, and I'm sure the engineers probably way into the new design for
Right.
the new commercial
Right.
area.
I'm meeting with Covington. We have a meeting set for Thursday, and we'll talk more about that. I already sent that to him as an email, but we'll talk more about that Thursday.
And
have
we
more
heard
information.
the fire chief mention the roads were too narrow. He'd like to see them wider. So that's something we need to look at. You know, and look at the parallel parking on the side, maybe not do so much curbing. And there's cost in the curbing. The curbing is, you see curbing when you look at the street. It's just like curbing looking at you. Maybe just do 2 straight lanes like we have all around the main circle so that we can just pull over, park as needed, and be a lot easier for residents. And not so much curbing because it looks like curbing.
So you're saying take down the curbing we just put up? Is that what you're asking?
Oh, no, not on
Okay.
East Aloha, but
Okay.
we've learned from East Aloha
understand
what
what
we
you
can
mean. Okay.
do on the new
got
phases.
you.
That'll be easier for the residents
Certainly.
and all of us to drive. Okay, that's all I have. So public comments. Dempsey Melton?
Council, Madam Mayor. Dempsey Middleton, 9426 Kawana Nakoa Place, Diamond Head. 2023-068 in the consent agenda. Moved it to the action items. Thank you. I have nothing else to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Miss Pat Sheehy.
Good evening. I'm Pat Sheehy, and I live at 9416 Kawana Nakoa Place. I didn't plan to talk tonight, so if I get a little emotional, excuse me. This whole thing is over an American flag that was put up for my husband. The only thing I have asked for is to leave the flag on the cul-de-sac. I've had several people say, why don't you take it off and put it in your own yard? Well, we used to have a flag all the time. My husband is was a 30-year veteran. Very proud of the flag. And when he started to get dementia, he wanted to be able, we had to put him in the front room with a hospital bed and whatever. He wanted to be able to see the flag. So it was moved out to the cul-de-sac. And he liked it there because he thought the neighbors could all enjoy it. Everybody in Diamond Head could enjoy it. There was nothing else out there. And there was no problem. I put 3 little bushes out there in front of it after he passed a few months ago. I put little ashes around there. And I was just asking the city to, allow me to keep the flagpole. Well, the reason that I don't want it moved back into the yard, my last memories of my husband, before he left to go to the nursing home, he wanted to be wheeled out to the flag, check the route, check the ropes, make sure everything looked good. Maybe I'm being sentimental, but I'm 81 years old, and I have a lot of memories of my husband, and I really don't think I'm asking for too much. That flagpole is not hurting anybody. It is not in the way of anything. There is plenty of room for cars to get around. The bushes are not in the way. The city has come out. They checked. There is no reason. They checked the water lines. The little bushes will not get into the water lines, as was stated at the last meeting. Somebody called the electric company, said that the pole was too close to the power lines. They came out, they measured. It was not, because the pole was put up by veterans in honor of my husband. And my only thing is, I would just like with Scott Talbot to adopt, I guess you call it adopt, I already signed papers with the general manager, that he and I will keep up the cul-de-sac. My lawn man is cutting the grass, he is weed eating, he is keeping it up. All it is on that cul-de-sac is one beautiful flagpole flying for everyone to see, and 3 small bushes. And my request is just to keep it as it is. I don't really see, and I don't know, how many of you served in the military or anything, but we honor our flag. We honor our veterans. And this city is a city of veterans. And in this day and age in the country today, we need all the faith we can get, and that flag stands for all of you.
Okay, wait a minute.
Excuse me.
No, I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry that this continues to be a topic. And I'm not sure why we moved it off the consent agenda, so there may be questions. You know, I know because I have specifically spoken to you. Have you spoken to anybody else on the council?
No one has contacted me at all. In fact, when I got the letter from you all, I was just dumbfounded. The letter was, and it was also addressed to my deceased husband, which I thought was very callous, that they didn't even bother to check to see that he wasn't even alive, and said that I had 10 days to remove the flag and the little bushes. I mean, that's outrageous. With everything that's going on in here in Diamond Head, I mean, this little cul-de-sac is off the beaten path way up on Bayou Drive. The only people that come down there are 2 people that live down in that area and delivery people in the garbage. I mean, you know, it's not like we're in the main thoroughfare or something like that. But if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. That's what I'm here for.
I just had a question. I heard one possible solution was asking you to donate the flagpole to the city so that we can always make sure the American flag is there. I don't think anybody wants to take the flagpole away.
I thought about doing that, but
That would ensure it for, forever.
right. The only reason I'm not going to do that is because I have seen, no offense against you all, but I have seen a lot of areas where the city is supposed to be maintaining things and they're not. And I feel I can keep that circle up a heck of a lot better.
Oh, I have no.
Plus,
doubt. Could do it.
why should you people have to pay
Well,
for your people to come out to take care of a little cul-de-sac when there's a lot more land around here that you should be taking care of, like your culverts and all your other stuff?
well, I have no doubt you would take care of it pristinely, but, down the road, what if, you move, or then, it would just be consistent to have it be city property, and then if you donate the flagpole to us, we can ensure the American flag flies on it and all the time, and
Well, quite frankly, I hate to say it, but I just don't trust that the city will.
You're 81. Do you plan on leaving Diamond Head?
No, not until they carry me out.
Okay, that's my thought. And you also have Scott Talbot, and he's in his 40s, and
Yeah,
he's
and
here as
he's a
well.
veteran.
And I feel in your heart that the flagpole is there, and it's not about, somebody offering another solution. You want to maintain it because it's sentimental to you, and I respect that deeply.
And I do have a solar light on it. So,
yeah.
I mean, and I appreciate the city, and I really thought about donating it in my husband's name, but then I got to thinking, I'd like to take care of it myself. Maybe in a couple of years, if I can't do it, maybe then I'll do it. But right now, Ray's only been dead 5 months. I kind of like to keep it.
And if you feel in a few months, a few years, you can't keep it up, then at that point, you can dedicate it to the city. But by golly, you deserve the right to maintain and keep that flagpole up for your
Well, it's
veterans.
not only
And
for-
I am ashamed we're sitting here still talking about the
Well,
flagpole.
it's not only for me, it's for all of Diamond Head. I think there ought to be a flag on every cul-de-sac in Diamond Head, quite frankly. But thank you for hearing me. I appreciate it.
Well, I also agree that it's a shame we're still talking about it, but
Yeah.
I still have, do you think it's just the flagpole that has us here still talking about it? There's so many other facets of this that maybe not everybody knows, and first of all, I don't even know. It just seems the city offering to take it over and again, it's not the flag. I get the personal thing of it. Several members of my family served in the military. I support the flag and our military. Let's say tomorrow, someone parks alongside the flag. I'm looking more for a permanent peace on your cul-de-sac. It seems like you are right. You are off the beaten path. There are only a few people there,
Mhm.
but it seems there's no peace in that valley.
There's only one person that's causing a problem, and he doesn't even live in Diamond Head.
Well,
And I think that, I don't know what's going on with him, but
well,
that flagpole has been up for 2 years and not one person has ever complained about it until it was deliberately run over. And in order to hit the flagpole, you have to get on the cul-de-sac and go at it. You can't hit it from on either side. Mr. Milton has a huge motorhome. He doesn't hit, when he goes around, he has trouble making the turn because his motorhome is long. But he's got plenty of room on the side when he goes by it.
So
It-
perfectly, everybody's perfectly happy.
Well, I
with it.
mean, well, no, you know, like
I'm
I said.
asking you, everybody on your cul-de-sac is perfectly happy with the way it is.
Well, there's 2 people that aren't.
How many people on the cul-de-sac?
Well, there's 6 of us. I have a neighbor right here now today, if you want her to speak. I have several people.
I'm just.
And
I wanna
Did you
stop-
all get-
I want to stop having our police force tasked to keep peace between a total of 10 people
And
out
I
of 10,000.
And I would like to say something about that. I have never called the police.
I'm not saying, look,
I mean, at the last meeting, 2 people stood up, and I think you all received a copy of the letter you should have all received a copy of the letter, where I gave my side of the story. The only time I've ever called the police was when the pole was knocked over. The police show up now. My people come to work at my house. I get up in the morning at 7:30, my workers are coming, and there's police cars. Somebody is calling the police department to come down and harass my workers. They're parking on my driveway and in my yard. So I don't know who is calling, but evidently somebody is disgruntled. Well, that's their problem.
And the only topic we have tonight is you've been maintaining the grass. You've had your grass man cut the grass in the medium.
2
And
years.
you want to, for 2 years, and you want to continue, like other residents have had the opportunity to adopt the medians, and some have. I think there's one in here tonight that has. You want to be able to adopt the median and take care of it.
Yes.
And then,
I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with that. If when we leave here tonight, nobody ever puts a drain on our police force about this, we'll.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. I don't enjoy, first of all, why
I'm just
three
asking, do you have-
three police cars have to show up and 4 or 5 policemen have to show up. They should be out. There's a lot of other important things to be
And
doing than
I was
worrying
asking
about
if-
that.
I was asking if you had a suggestion on, if there's anything that anybody here tonight thinks that they could do to stop all that. The flagpole stays, good for me. We leave it, and if, when we do this, what are we doing here?
Wasting time.
You're adopting.
I'm adopting.
and maybe get the neighbors, you all talk, try to work it out. Get the neighbors to come help you all.
We've lived down in that circle for 29 years and I've never had a problem until this one person started a little ruckus.
And to
so.
get them to come help you with the median. I mean, you've got a lot of good people on your street.
yeah.
Y'all could work
They're all wonderful.
collectively.
Yeah.
And there's just one more thing I want you to just think about. And I'm like Shane, I'm like everybody, I love the flag. I don't want to see the flagpole go anywhere. But say next week or next meeting, somebody comes in and wants to adopt their cul-de-sac and put a flagpole up and fly the Nazi flag. Are you okay with that? Because we are not going to have the ability to say no if we start allowing people to adopt medians and put up, we can't dictate what you do because it's free speech and the American flag is covered under the First Amendment, but so is everything else. And so by you donating it to the city, we can make sure that that doesn't ever happen.
Well,
And I just want to make sure you know that.
oh, I understand. I
that
understand.
could happen.
Well,
And
anything
that was
could
one of
happen.
the-
Anybody could put anything up, I
And
can't,
that could
can't tell what they're
happen
doing on that.
without you adopting it. Somebody could
But
come
we
in.
wouldn't have a precedent of allowing, it's okay for you, but it's not okay for you. And I'm just trying to
Well,
avoid
I
a
understand,
problem
but I
in the
understand
future.
what you're
No
saying.
one wants to take your flag away.
I understand. I'm just worried right now about my cul-de-sac and my flagpole.
Okay.
And I'd really like to see it should have been settled. It should never have even come to all this commotion. It's
Well,
ridiculous.
I will volunteer to come help cut the grass too. I'll come trim the bush, whatever. If we just stay out of the police keeping
Oh,
our
I
city,
totally agree.
whatever it takes. I'll come over and I'll mediate. I'll cook for somebody. I'll make Jello for crying out loud. I hate Jello, but that's what I'm here for. When we leave here tonight, I just want the drain on our public's. The people who are out to protect us shouldn't be spending time.
I totally agree, and I had called the mayor when that first happened, and I said, why are all these police cars coming down here? And it's constant. Last Monday, they were there. 3 of them showed up again at 7:30 in the morning. Who called them? You know?
That's all I have.
Yeah.
All right, well, I am going to move to modify the agenda, and I'm going to go ahead and move on this motion and hope I get a second. So I move for 2023-068, a motion to approve the adoption agreement between the City of Diamond Head, designated group of residents, Pat Sheehy and Scott Talbot, for the cul-de-sac. Can you say it? Because I'm going to say Kanawanakoa.
Kawa Ananakoa.
Okay, place. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Finley. All in favor?
Wait, can we have some
Oh,
discussion?
discussion?
Yeah.
No. Well, I'm sorry. Since I'm already talking, I'll start. This adoption is, and I'll ask council if in 90 days the council decides to rescind, if you could touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, any time in our ordinance that we've got that you all agree to allow a resident or group to adopt a right of way, it is revocable. So if it's not maintained, that would be something that you guys would be able to take a look at and say, we're revoking this. So there's no property rights that are granted with it. It's just granting her to put, the use of the flagpole on the city property, and that you have the right to maintain that and to
which
keep
I
it
will.
clean.
Which I will.
And that's it.
Well, what if we don't like what somebody puts up? So, like I said,
Yeah.
if somebody put up something offensive, like, that offended someone else, do we have the right to tell them to take it down?
What do you mean?
And like in the future, if somebody
Oh.
adopted, I mean, I just want to make sure we
Right, that
avoid
would be,
problems in the future.
and that would be part of the rescinding process that you guys
We
would
can
have.
just say, we don't like what you did, we can take that back, and we're not trampling on anybody's free speech.
Right, and I'm sensitive to that's a concern that I share, and it's something that I mentioned last week, that the donation would cure. That if it was ours, the city would only put an American flag or a state flag or a city flag on one of its flagpoles on its property. A resident, putting a flagpole up, we don't want to get into a position where we're trying to control content.
Right.
And that's a
it's not an
slippery
issue
slope
right
that.
now. We love her flag,
Right.
but-
We
right.
know Miss Shee's going to keep an American flag. We know that. We have no concerns about that. Obviously, the concern is about a precedent. But I would say this, you do not have to allow any other medians to be adopted. You can put conditions on them. You can put a condition on her that she maintains, that she keeps an American flag on there. We've got some issues. We've got some
Okay.
free speech
And
issues.
we've got several medians now that have American flagpoles that haven't been adopted. We've got some that are total chaos, that need to be cleaned up. So we probably need to, after we do this, look at adopting, and let's review it and modify it, because it's not working what we have now.
So,
We need to review it and modify our, the way we allow residents to adopt medians, so that we put stricter guidelines, because
Well,
we've got some that are so overgrown
I
and
think in those
just,
if a resident is
Right.
putting something in our median without permission, they haven't adopted it.
No, they
They're
haven't.
putting things in our, and so we have, as a city, we have a right to control what's on our property. We remove political signs from the medians all the time.
yes, you do.
You cannot put things on
Yes,
city,
we
and
do.
this issue is not about the American flag. I can't emphasize that enough. As much respect as I have for Ms. Sheehy and for her late husband.
Well, and I apologize,
is-
because I did not know that you had to have a permit to do that when
Right,
we put
but-
this up a couple years ago.
But
I'm
the
sorry.
concern of the councilwoman is the slippery slope issue, and if we, now, again, we can solve this by, we can either grandfather this in, we
That's
could.
my question. Can we grandfather her cul-de-sac, her situation, grandfather you, your flag's been up for 2 years, it's good, and then close the door on adoptions from here on out?
Or modify it, that's what I
You-
mentioned.
you could
Let's
e-
just
you-
work on it and modify
You
it from
could
here
either-
moving forward.
You could either modify it, you could put a moratorium on it, you could just repeal it and say, we're not in the business of
But we've
of
got some
adopting out.
people, and I'm gonna point out a resident in the audience, Miss Penny Crawford. We've got some that have beautiful plants that work hard.
Well-
And we want, but you know, we may modify and say it's plants and not structures. These are things that we can let the city manager work on moving forward. So from moving forward, we could modify it to say that.
And just to be clear, the agreement and the ordinance clearly states, and we've given a permission to put a flagpole, you cannot put anything else in that median without permission of
That's
the
right.
council. So that's it. So just so that, there's no other blocking of parking or anything of that nature. So and as long as that's done, then,
So
we're
is it
fine.
your recommendation that we pass this because we want her to keep her flagpole and then modify it at the next meeting maybe to reflect, is it some way to protect us? I mean, I'm just asking what your
Yeah,
recommendation is.
it'll be
as our
longer
lawyer.
than just the next meeting, but if we want to consider a repeal or a modification of a current
We
ordinance.
can put a
let's-
moratorium on
Let's
it.
start putting the process together, get it to planning and zoning like we do. We had this issue before where let's just keep that process. If we're going to be looking at a modification of an ordinance, let's go through the process.
Let me
It's
ask a city attorney
90 or
one other-
120 days.
one other question. So, again, nothing against the American flag, but somebody just putting something on the city right-of-way, is this setting a precedent that if you say no to somebody else, they can say, well, you've already done it, why are you discriminating against me?
Not if we modify.
Well, if speech is involved, I mean, if someone, that's where
I'm
we've got to
talking
be careful.
about using the right-of-way, not what's on it, just using it. Are we setting a precedent saying this was done without the city's thing and we're saying it's okay, and then we turn around to somebody else and say that's not okay?
She's come through we see this a lot of times. Sometimes we find things out and people didn't quite follow the rules. When they're made aware of the rules, they file an application or they come before the council and you all approve it. Someone else in that similar situation would have to do the same thing. So if there is someone that is violating a rule right now, here's an opportunity, come to the city, ask us if they can adopt their median as well or their right of way. They would then be in compliance. But anybody that's doing it right now that does not have permission from this council, it cannot be given. It's a recommendation from the city manager, but that permission cannot be granted by any individual member of the council. It has to come before the council, and that's pursuant to our ordinance. So that's how we would solve if someone else tried to do something that we didn't like in the future. You just don't have to grant them permission.
So if I want to adopt my median in front of my house, does that give me the right to say you can or you can't park there?
No.
No, it does not. With it comes no property rights. You do not own it. You do not control it. You're just taking on an obligation to maintain it. You're saying, "Hey, city, I want to relieve this burden from you. I want to maintain it."
And cut the
That's it.
grass and keep it clean.
And one other question, do we have a record of the ones that have been granted this right?
As far as I'm aware, I think there's
that
been
Miss
one.
Penny?
I think there's been
Ooh, Miss
one
Penny.
one time
Forget
previously
I
where the
mentioned your
council
story.
did it.
Scratch that off the record. Erase, back up.
Miss Penny just got ratted out.
Sorry, Miss Penny, but your
We'll
Is,
be looking
uh,
for
your
the
median's
paperwork tomorrow.
fabulous.
We had the paperwork for you up here.
We could get Luther to take
Please
her.
see
we could-
John for paperwork
We
after
could
the
get
meeting.
Luther to take her out, but no, and that's how we do it. I mean, again, some of these things pre-existed the city, and it's just always been that way. It doesn't mean that, so truly some things are grandfathered in. I mean, if Miss Penny's predated the city, well, she may have already been grandfathered. 20 years?
Yes, she's predated. Okay, I think we've concluded on the
Mayor,
discussion.
I
and
have
I'm-
a question for the
Okay.
city manager. Ms. Shealy and Mr. Talbot, they filled out a request to adopt this, right? And they did that last week?
Yes, that's
As I
correct.
understand. And on that, what was on the permit? Do they have to fill out a permit asking what they can put on that? How did that process work, and what were they granted?
There were other things. I mean, there are other things as far as the entire adopting of a median process that we sort of skipped over just in this situation. I met with Ms. Sheehy, and the determination or the discussion was that she keeps her flagpole where it is puts a few rocks around the bottom of it to protect it, and that was it. That was the entire discussion and the agreement that we had made, that that's what she will do. If that's not the case, then of course there's architectural plans or just some sort of drawing, and then the Public Works Director has to go out and determine whether Public Works can maintain that with whatever is being put there, or if it would have to be the responsibility of the resident to maintain that. Like I said, since she was only doing a flag, or just leaving the flagpole as it was and putting some rocks around it, then I said we were fine.
Now,
and
the three little-
and we didn't need to go forward with that.
The 3 little bushes doing it, like I said, I had the water department come out, and they said there was no problem, whatever. They're small. And they said there was no problem. Do I need to get a permit for that? Which I would be very glad to sign.
You
Yes,
just,
ma'am, that's what I was
you
asking.
can't add
Right.
any more stuff to the median, and you know that, you're
Okay.
well aware.
Oh, right,
Mhm.
right.
Except the rocks around the flag because the city manager
Right,
said.
those were the only things, that was actually the only thing we had agreed upon.
So is everything else allowed to stay?
I'm sorry?
Is everything else allowed to stay?
The discussion we had and the agreement we had made was no, everything else would come out. Only the flagpole and the rocks would be placed around it. And then maybe a plaque or stake in
so
there,
what we're approving tonight is
dedicating it to her husband.
Only the flagpole and the rocks right around the bottom, not
And that is the
everything
way,
else?
I believe that's the way it's written in your
And a
backup.
dedication, like if you want
Okay.
to put Mr. Ray.
That's fine.
And that's the way it's written in your backup.
Okay, I think we've discussed this a lot tonight, so.
Thank you all very much for hearing me. I'm sorry,
So,
I
all
got
in
a little
favor?
emotional.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous, Ms. Pat. Okay, now moving on to the minutes. Could I get a motion to approve the November 1st, 2022 regular meeting minutes?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley, second. Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor? Aye. We're going to leave the tabled item tabled until December, which will bring a new motion up. Resolution 2023-056. Motion to adopt Resolution 2023-007, thereby proclaiming Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's holidays, and further ordering the City of Diamond Head government office closures for the same. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilwoman Lisi. Any discussion to my left? Discussion to my right. So this will be Thanksgiving holidays, Thursday, Friday. Christmas will be Friday, Monday. And New Year's Day will be Friday. Monday. I knew it was one. Let's go with Monday. Okay, all in favor? Roll call. Sorry. Go ahead, City Clerk.
Yes.
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 Yes. Consent agenda items 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15, and 16. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're going to move these items to the action agenda, but I'm going to do the first 2 items that were already on there, and then we'll move on to adding the ones that we took off consent. Action agenda item 2023-059, motion for discussion, possible action regarding information for the Outdoor Music Entertainment Steering Committee. Could I get a motion for
So moved.
discussion?
So move.
Councilman Marr, could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. Councilman Marr?
Yeah, I just wanted to fill in the city, the council up here, about the meetings of the steering committee. And what we basically thought we would do is have the 3rd Saturday of every month, starting in January, from 1 to 3, outdoors by the gazebo, have a open mic for the musicians from around the area to come and play. Wes Sanderford, who's done this underneath the Lazy Gator, has volunteered his time to be the MC coordinator of the musicians and also to bring his drums and his guitar equipment, so anybody wanting to come up and just play on his stuff would be welcome to. We decided that it would probably be best to start off with just the 2 hours to see how it grows, but there's anticipation that if it is successful, that we would then look to expanding it maybe to 3 hours, and that in addition, we would maybe look to having maybe food trucks come on that day, and maybe convincing some of the farmers market vendors to appear one Saturday a month to come and sell their vending stuff at that time. I just wanted to bring you all into the loop because I really like that we do have the go-ahead to start this January 3rd, and we're firm on if it's bad weather, we're not even going to attempt it because we don't want it to look bad right off the get-go. So bad weather, it's a no-go. Good weather, and we want everybody to come out. And we'd like that to be on the electric sign.
That sounds wonderful. Any questions?
Yeah, you said, what were the dates? January 3rd, you want to start that?
The third Saturday of each month.
Third Saturday of each month.
So the third Saturday of January would start from 1 to 3.
1 to 3, okay.
All right, that sounds fun. Thank you,
think so.
Councilman Mayor.
Oh, and one other thing, can I
Mark.
say? And if anybody wants to join the steering committee, we will meet on the third Thursday of each month, except not this month, going forward.
All right, now moving on to action agenda item 2023-064, motion to concur with the Planning Commission's recommendation to grant a variance from the zoning ordinance Article 4.19 to allow the construction of a deck within 15 feet 6 inches from the rear property line. The property address is 3416 Lumaha Place. The tax parcel number is 131M-2 11-050.00. The property is in an R2 zoning district. The rear yard setback is 20 feet. The variance requested is 4 feet 6 inches. The case file number is 2022-00466. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to my right? All in favor? Aye. Motion 2023-065, motion to concur with the Planning Commission's recommendation to grant a variance from the zoning ordinance Article 4.19 to allow the construction of a single-family residence within 9 feet 3 inches of both side property lines. The property address is 982 Ala Moana Place. The tax parcel number is 067J-1-36-054.000. The property is in an R2 zoning. The side yard setbacks are 10 feet. The variance requested is 9 inches on each side for a total of 1 foot 6 inches. The case file number is 2022-00464. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Marr. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Clark. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to my right? All in favor? Aye. Action agenda item number 6 on consent 2023. Motion to approve work assignment with Pickery Engineering, Inc. for the rebid phase services of the Lily Pond dredging in the amount of $4,000 and for the rebid phase services of the Miller Pond in the amount of $3,000. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. Any discussion to my left? Discussion to my right? I have discussion. Can the engineer come to the front?
Good
Okay.
evening.
Good evening. And you want to say who you are?
Kara Wagner with Pickering.
Okay. So you're the engineer of record over the project, and now we are, the last meeting, the bids came in, it's been 4 months we've been working on, 4 long months, 4 months. So we reached a conclusion that the contractor was not going to take the bid, so we're rebidding.
That's correct.
So we're at the rebid phase, and I guess my question is, when are we going to advertise the bid?
So I think we can be ready to have an advertisement for the next meeting in 2 weeks. In that time, we need to contact a surveyor. We're going to get the boundary marked out there. We're going to update our plans to make the clearing and the boundary and potential stockpile areas a bit more clear. Give a couple different unit prices for the dredging to hopefully bring the cost down as we rebid. So that's the plan, and hopefully we'll have a bid advertisement for you guys on the next meeting agenda.
Okay. So are you making changes to the plans in any ways except for those things you just mentioned?
No, I think everything I just mentioned will be the total of the changes.
Okay, and that's, that the changes that you're doing is included in this 4,000 and 3,000?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, okay. Any question to my left?
Now, I don't know that we will have enough area on site to stockpile all of the dredge material. From our initial calcs that we did and went and ran, it's maybe half of what we think we need to pull out of that pond. It's mucky, it's not gonna stack. You can't stockpile a big pile of muck. It's gonna spread out and we can only fit so much on site there. So we're gonna have to separate it out, what hauls off and what stays on site. Unless we get another area to stockpile.
If you got another area in Diamond Head, that would significantly save the cost of the haul off. So we
This is
have
correct.
areas that are low that need some, we need to find another area, because once we start hauling it down I-10, it is, oh, I can tell you some areas. Okay.
We have to, that shouldn't even be an issue. We have places to put that.
Yes, we
Okay,
do,
so
Councilman
let's not-
Finley.
So you just let us know. We can coordinate, let us know
I
the
was just gonna say,
locations
I can
too.
think of 1,000 places.
I can
but,
too, I'm with him. We have some places. If y'all need ideas, we'll give you a list. Okay.
Awesome.
So on the next agenda in 2 weeks, which is December the 6th, we will advertise to bid, because we have got residents patiently waiting. Then we'll advertise to bid, that's 30 days. You'll review the contracts. We'll award the contract for 60 more days. So December 6th, we're still at 120 days.
Yes, from starting construction most likely.
It has been
It feels
years.
like it.
I was 5.
Kara, we
Seriously.
had 2 bids on the last one, right?
We did. We were hoping for more. We have a mass email to send out to a bunch of contractors when we are ready to rebid to say, hey, we have this new advertisement that just went out. Go get our plans from this website. Please bid. So we're hoping we will get a few more bids.
Are we changing the design any?
A little bit. As I mentioned, we're going to look at stockpile areas on site. We're going to make clearing and grubbing. The city's looking to do potentially a little clearing and grubbing before the contractor gets out there. That was one big question the first time we bid, was access, clearing and grubbing, and what trees to remove. So I think if we can kind of clear that up this go around, we will hopefully get some better bids.
So how did we clear up access?
By working with the city. So we're in this bid right now, we have to survey, get a boundary marker, and the city, we're talking about them going out and clearing this location or area for them to stockpile dirt. So that will make access very apparent and clear to the contractor.
And that's at the Lily Pond that we have the biggest issue, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Good.
No. Well, thank you. That cleared up a lot.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 9 on the consent agenda, 2023-066. Motion to approve pay application number 1 in the amount of $326,943.84 to Huey P. Stocksdale LLC, Diamond Head Roadway Improvements Phase 4. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. Any discussion to my left? To my right? I would like the engineer of record to come up so we can discuss where we are and where we're going. And they thought they were just sitting here looking nice tonight.
Right.
Man, I felt special tonight.
Good evening, folks. I'm Bruce Newton with Digital Engineering. John did a pretty good job of summing it up for you guys in his report, but Phase 4, there were 22 streets in the original set of plans. 17 of those streets have been completed, with the only remaining work to be done in the Bayou Drive area, as mentioned in John's report. The Water and Sewer District has a water project that is currently under construction, and actually it runs all the way through May, but this particular area, the contractor's waiting on some materials, which he'll have in about 3 weeks. So that work will get done in December, and then the paving contractor will remobilize to finish the paving in that area. So he's roughly 77% complete. He has installed temporary striping on Golf Club Drive, and a permanent striping will be placed when all of the paving is done. So that'll go down after that work in the Bayou Drive area is completed. So that's kind of where we are. Just a little bit more detail, and we'll be wrapping it up, hopefully before the end of the year. So he's just kind of sitting on the sidelines now, waiting on a couple of water line connections to be done, so we don't, dig up what we just finished paving or anything like that, so.
And all of this is on the Bayou Circle area, part of Bayou, and
That's correct. Bayou Circle, Bayou Court, Bayou Drive and then you got, Halawa Court and.
Halawa Court that
Hope
goes
I
to the
pronounced that
north.
right.
Liwa.
Yeah, okay.
I say Halawa. I have friends on Halawa.
I guess there's 2 or 3 versions. But those are the only streets that
It's
remain.
whoever lived here the longest.
Right, there you go.
You have to say it that way.
Okay.
So that's a good thing. So this is phase 4, and you've done all 4 of the paving projects.
Yes, ma'am.
All the way through, and I don't even know if we've had a change order on any of them. You've done an outstanding job, is just what I want to say. It just always goes smooth
Thank
as
you.
asphalt.
We
smooth.
appreciate it. We
Yes.
appreciate working with the city.
Yeah.
We enjoy it, have a great relationship with the staff and, with you guys, so it's
Well-
been a pleasure.
Well, thank you. I know you, and I don't know if the city manager didn't mention it on his report, but we had a big week this week. We signed the bond papers, which sounds easy, but the conference room table was covered, and hats off to Derek, because I don't know how he did it. And I said, I just signed these, and he's like, yes, I read them. I mean, stacks and stacks and stacks, and he was right there with us on the bond. So we're ready for, when will we get the money? Tomorrow we will have the bond funding coming into the city of Diamond Head, and it's for the paving projects. And I think you worked on the proposal for the bond.
We did some, when I guess back when Michael was working for you guys, we had helped him with some cost estimates and some mapping to kind of scope out the project. There was some paving, I think there was a protected bike lane path, and also there was some landscaping money included in the original budget. So I guess depending on how much money you actually have to go towards construction and
We're gonna have to tone that down a lot.
the cost of what
Just back it up to the
Right.
paving, because the bike lane probably isn't realistic. The landscaping, because the bond, we had to set the bond amount at what we could pay with our internet sales tax. We're
Right.
using that, that money that comes into the city a month to make the bond payment. So we were set, so we're gonna have to scale back probably on the extras. So have you started working on that? John, have you started? No, not yet? Okay, is that gonna be like on the next agenda? So we can, not that I'm excited, but we're excited to get Diamond Head Drive, the circle, complete.
sure be a great project.
Bruce,
Yes.
with mobilizing more than once, is there any additional cost involved with that, with mobilization
You talking about?
on phase 4? or on
No,
Bayou
the
Drive?
contractor has not indicated that he's gonna ask for any money to remobilize to the site.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
so we don't anticipate that.
Hey, all the patchwork are y'all gonna be responsible or helping out with water and sewer on all the Hilo Way where they're tearing up the roads and stuff? Is that something y'all patch for them or?
Well, I mean, we have a couple of projects going on with the Diamond Head Water and Sewer District, not in particular what you're discussing. We are involved in what they call the Phase 2 water project,
Water tower.
which is, and a water tower.
Oh,
So,
that's looking amazing. What about Hanley Circle? Are you working on that?
we're not involved in that
Okay.
area,
And that's sewer,
right? So-
gravity and force.
Yeah, so we're not involved in every facet, but we do have a couple of projects ongoing with the district. And of course, anything that we've got going on with you guys and, coordination's a little easier when we kind of know what's happening in the
What
area.
we're trying
but-
to get to.
But I know, as John mentioned earlier, I know there's been communication between city staff and district staff and leadership, so, which is great. That will hopefully can avoid, a lot of cities talk about how they, we just paved the road and then we dug it up to put in a new drain pipe or a new sewer pipe or whatever, so. That can be avoided, that's great, Sometimes you can't, but.
You're doing an excellent job, and the paving projects have all gone off without a hitch. So we'd love to see Diamond Head Drive go off without a hiccup.
I'm sure. once again, thank you guys, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Now, number 11. Excuse me,
13.
we did 11. We are not doing 11
Don't go back to
again.
11, please.
No. 13, 2023-070. Motion to approve change order number 2 to the Makiki Drainage Project, adding 60 additional calendar days for project completion with no change in project cost. Could I get a motion?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. Discussion to my left, discussion to my right. Ms. Kara, you're on.
Long time no see. Kara Wagner with Pickering. Let's discuss. Any questions? I can answer specifics.
This delay was because of the culverts not being delivered till just last week, correct?
Correct, that's correct.
Oh, I have some questions. Just give me 1 second.
No problem.
While she's looking, when do we expect this to be completed?
So we're hoping to get it done by the end of this extension. So what was that, January 9th?
Okay.
I don't want to overpromise and try and say it's going to
I
happen
di- I
sooner.
didn't know
Holidays
if-
are
I didn't know if
here.
there was some overlap or we had already reached that point or not, but we're 60 from now.
Yes.
It is January 9th, which seems so far away.
How long were we
But yet-
delayed waiting on the culvert?
It was a long time.
Months.
2 months.
More than 60 days?
Yes.
Mhm.
That's good then.
Okay, so we did see the pipe brought out. I did happen to see it driving in the new box, which is beautiful. We've been needing that with the top. So is the contractor able to continue? I mean, does this add, well, it didn't add any cost to him. Does this add any cost to Pickering to keep this project going another 60 days?
We submitted a contract to John that will hopefully be on the next agenda for $8,000 to continue the construction for the remaining duration of that.
Okay, and that cost includes?
Us coordinating pay apps, change orders, any additional, hopefully there won't be, but finishing out pay apps, doing substantial completion, walkthrough, stopping in, making sure he's getting the job done correctly.
Have you depleted the funds in your work assignment?
Yes, we've actually gone over by 5,000 already. So in that 8,000, we've already ate up 5 of that, and we're just hoping to finish it out in 3. To be honest, that's a stretch at this point, but we're going to try.
So you're already upside down.
Yes.
And this just took longer, and we had a lot of, and I think part of it, you all went above and beyond with the residents, because I know the city manager's been called out there
We did. It was pretty
50
involved.
times. You want me to round it up to 60? You know, a lot with the residents, because a lot were very engaged and active in the project, and rightfully so. That's their properties, their backyards. They have to see it, their fences. So I guess we need to do what we need to do to get it. We're at the finish line, so we need to get it finished.
Yes, and we will do our best to get it done as quickly as possible and while still keeping the residents as happy as we can.
Okay.
We'll do our best.
Please.
Any other questions? Ward 1?
No, just,
The pipe's
I'm-
beautiful.
oh, it looks great. I'm just, like everybody's patience has reached it's just time to finish.
Oh, I know. We're all ready.
All right.
All right. Thank you
Well,
so
thank
much.
you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now, I think we've covered everything that we did not have. So moving on to our routine agenda. Motion to approve the docket of claims, DKT 230211, DKT 0250, in the amount of $435,415.48.
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Cumberland. All in favor? Aye. Department reports. Motion to approve department reports for October 2022. Building Department, Privilege License, Police Department, and Court Department. Motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Lisi. Could I get a second? Second made by Councilman Clark. Any discussion to my left? Any discussion to my right? I have one thing on the Court Department report, which is nice. Who's doing that? Oh, okay. Well, this is nice. I don't know who originated it, but thank you. Could we put, like how, well, it may, how much we actually have paid out, you know, for the month, for the court department? Yeah, how much the expenses were?
The operating
Yes,
expenses,
yes,
not
ma'am.
fines to the city.
Oh, no, no, not,
Operating.
yeah, not, we shouldn't be paying no residents out.
Well, we do pay the state there. but-
Right.
Yeah, so you want operating expenses.
Yes. So, this is really, it's very nice, thank you, because it makes it a lot clearer. We got 19 tickets, we collected 3,627. And we had to give the state 1,600 and then what we have. This is a very good report. Thanks. Okay, that's all I have. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any non-agenda comments? Any need for executive session? Oh, yes. Okay. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Marr. All in favor?
Aye.